Hey guys, what's going on? This is Wayne Stephen with Next Level Lifestyle, here to bring you the top 5 hip-hop albums of all time. Now already, I can hear some moans and groans and people talking about, oh, what this dude gonna say today. Well, here's what I'm gonna say. This is what makes a top 5 hip-hop album for me. And honestly, it should make it for anybody that's a fan of hip-hop in general. Here's the criteria that needs to be met to be a top 5 hip-hop album. First criteria, no skippable tracks. Not one skippable track. You should not be able to feel comfortable skipping a track on a top 5 hip-hop album. And a lot of times, you guys who, I'm about to say a name that's gonna hurt a couple of people. Listen, let me ask, I have this question, please put it in the comments. What is this love affair that real hip hop fans have with Tupac? Like, I've listened to Tupac albums before. I've skipped several songs on Tupac albums. Tupacalypse Now was not good. All Eyes on Me had some songs on it that were critically acclaimed. Me Against the World, same thing. The Don Killuminati 7-Day Theory, that had about 4 songs on there. What is the love affair? Why do you guys want to shove Tupac in every list? Is it because he died? I'm not trying to be funny, I'm being real. Is it because he died? Like, if he was alive, would he get the same love? You gotta think about that, because we like to romanticize our dead heroes a lot. Like, there's a mural of Biggie in Brooklyn, as there should be. But if we're being fair, none of his albums, all 2 of them, don't ever consider a double disc 2 albums. It's not. It's 1 album. It's named the same thing. Albeit he had an amazing skill set that very few rappers, even today, have. But you cannot take 2 pieces of material and say, this should be a top 5 hip-hop album because he's no longer with us. We have to be honest. I'm not asking people to be insensitive. I'm asking people to be honest about rap music. And we're not. Because we do a lot of asterisk work. We do a lot of, well, if he had been alive, he would be, or if they would have not gone to jail, they would be. We can't do that. We have to work with what we have. And in everything that I'm mentioning, I feel like we don't work with what we have. We work with what we wish we had. And we can't do that whenever we're measuring work on an objective scale. We can't do it. We have to stop doing the wish we had if we had mindset. We got to stop doing it. The second criteria for a top 5 hip hop album, it has to have changed the way rap was made after that. Every album on my top 5 list changed the way people were rapping after that album came out. It changed the way they approached rap after that album came out. It changed the subject matter of the things they were rapping about after that album came out. It changed the trajectory. That's what a body of work should do. It should change the trajectory. It should change the perspective. It should change the approach. It should make you want to tear down everything you were gonna do and go, now I'm gonna use that as my architectural structure for what I'm gonna do going forward. Third criteria, lyrical skill, bars, content, wordplay, thought-provoking, all of those things, which brings me back to my original point. What is you guys' love affair with Tupac? I'm not a Tupac hater. I loved him as a person. He's somebody that I would sit down and build with, share ideas with. But as far as his pen, it left much to be desired because I listened to rap that was really bar heavy, lyrical wordplay, made me go, whoa, how do you compare those 2 things? Just like my top 5 greatest rappers of all time list. So this has to meet that same criteria. There has to be lyrical content, bars, and skill involved in a top 5 hip hop album if you truly love hip hop the way you say you do. The fourth criteria heavy replay value. You have to be able to go get that album, play it today, and be just as hyped to hear it as you were when you first heard it. A lot of those albums, yeah, we have great memories off of, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I heard Keep Your Head Up, I loved it. It has great replay value. But the whole body of work the whole body of work that song was on doesn't have it. I'm not picking on Tupac. I'm just mad at people who keep coming at my neck about how dare I not put Tupac on a top 5 anything list because of what he meant to hip hop. I'm not picking on Tupac. I'm not crapping on his legacy. None of that stuff. I approach hip hop in a very real way. And I do so based on those 4 criteria. Now, before I get into my top 5, I want to talk about some honorable mentions that didn't make it on my top 5 list, but if I were making a top 10 list, it would definitely be on there. And it actually hurt my feelings to leave these albums off because I was really struggling with, man, do I leave this? Do I take it? Do I take that off? And do I put this here? And it was tough. So on my honorable mentions is Raekwon the Chef's Only Built for Cuban Links. I loved that album. I was not even a huge Wu-Tang fan because if we're being honest, not all the dudes in Wu-Tang could rap, which is why Return of the 36 Chamber or whatever that Wu-Tang album was called, all of them can't rap, so it didn't make my honorable mention list. It won't. But Only Built for Cuban Links, that birthed all of the swag rap you hear, like all of the stuff they was talking about, like with the Wallabies, with the gold chains, with the Versace silk and all of that. They was killing it. Like him and Ghostface made the perfect marriage on the album. Even though it was a Raekwon album, it felt very much like a Raekwon and Ghostface collaborative album. But Only Built for Cuban Links was my joint in high school. Like I never wanted to wear Wallabies until I heard this album, and I still didn't get a pair because my feet were big. They made my feet look horrible. But I love this album. Another one on the honorable mention list, Reasonable Doubt. I had to leave it off. And I'm ashamed of myself because the album that took its place, it literally goes in waves for me. Whether I choose this as a top 5 or choose that as a top 5. And it was so close, but I had to pick one, and Reasonable Doubt didn't make it. The next one that didn't make it, that it really, and the only reason it didn't make it is because there was a couple of songs in there where I was like, oh, I don't particularly care for this, but this is still a hard album. I would say it's an 8.5 out of 10. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, DMX's premiere album, which literally shook up the game. Like, I never wanted to hit somebody with a table and a chair until I heard Get At Me Dog. I wanted to ECW wrestle every person I saw on the street when I heard Get At Me Dog. When Stop Being Greedy was my song. Like, he was killing it. Like, all his energy, his raw, his realness, his grittiness, his story itself, like, as a person, DMX, although not lacking as lyrically as I consider other rappers to be, he changed the trajectory of rap, which is why I didn't make the top 5 because of the lack of lyrical content, but the fact that that album, to this day, like, I will put it on and I will listen to it. The next one that I left off, and again, I hate the fact, I hate lists, though I love them at the same time, but this next one was Aquemini by Outkast. This album literally had it all. It had it all. Andre and Big Boy did everything on this album. Now, they rapped, they story told, they did innovative things with music. There's like the one song that comes to mind, the title track, Aquemini. That was one of the first songs I ever heard that did a beat switch. Like, in the middle of the song, they added more elements to the beat that made the beat complete. That's the first time that I've ever heard that. It excited the heck out of me. Then there was so many songs that came off of it. Now, mind you, are all the songs something that I would play over and over? No, but again, this is one of those 8.5, 9 out of 10 albums that I'm like, I played it last week. Like, I literally listened to the album last week because I had missed it that much. And the last album that made my honorable mention, and a lot of people aren't gonna vibe with me on this one, which is fine, because everybody has their personal taste. The Firm album. I'm not a huge Nas fan. I'm not. I never have been. But the Firm album was one of the best Nas's we got. And I think it had a lot to do not only with that, but it had to do with the collaboration of the different voices. I'm not a huge AZ fan. I'm not a huge Nature fan, though I like Nature in that element more than Cormega, because Cormega was one of the original members of the Firm, and then some fallout happened or whatever. And then you add Foxy Brown, who is literally one of my favorite female MCs of all time, next to Rod Digger. And you take that amalgamation of talent and skill set, and you get an incredible album. I would say I think I skipped maybe 2 songs on the entire album. But the production mixed with the bars, mixed with the content, mixed with the subject matter, mixed with the different voices, albeit I'm not a fan of AZ, but his element, him and Nas bouncing off of one another, their voices blending, Nature bringing his bar heavy skill set, Foxy bringing her bar heavy skill set, and it made a marriage to an amazing album, which to me got slept on. And I don't see how it did, because it brought so much, in my opinion, to hip hop at that time. Now it's time to get to the business. And I want you to know beforehand, I want all the smoke in the comments below. Whatever you got, because I know I'm gonna get it. I'm with it, just so you know. Top 5 albums I had. Oh my goodness. First of all, these aren't in any real particular order, but they kind of are. I know, what did he mean by that, right? But number 5 on my top 5 hip hop album of all time list, Get Rich or Die Trying. That album made everybody think they could get shot 9 times and have that build a career for them. 50 Cent, this is the best 50 Cent that we've ever gotten. A lot of people will say, oh, mixtape 50 was better, and remember on How to Rob, blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good. But Get Rich or Die Trying, mixed with the guidance of Dr. Dre and Eminem on 50 Cent's career, and the subject matter and the content. And on top of the fact that this, and he's not lyrical, he's even said it, but this is as lyrical as I've ever heard 50 Cent be. His first album, he gave everything he had to that album, from the intro to the close. And it had banger after banger after banger. If they wanted to, this whole album could have been on the radio all at once. And it almost was. Because you had In the Club, you had 21 Questions, you had PIMP, you had Bloodhound, you had, what else was on there? Many Men. I literally 5 songs. Those were singles that came off. And this album did well. And I'm not huge on the album sale. You won't catch me on some oh, this rap is better because they had better album sales. You'll never hear me say that, because there are a lot of times where album sales do not justify the type of artist that a person is. It's just the fact that the public didn't receive it because it wasn't packaged right. And my example for that is Royce da 5'9". He's an amazing lyricist. He has amazing subject matter. He's just not packaged correctly, so the masses don't get to understand him fully. But back to this. Get Rich or Die Trying was that you had a G-Unit tank top. I know you did. I did not. Because at the time I was skinny, and wasn't nobody trying to see no skinny dude in no G-Unit tank top. But you had a G-Unit tank top. I know you did. Your email address, you changed it. You wanted to be in G-Unit. You did. I was still a Rock fan. I wasn't jumping shit. I wasn't jumping shit. Like The Rock was, in my opinion, The Rock was still doing it. I don't care. 50 Cent had 5 hard summers where he was just killing people. Not to mention, and I'm sad to say this because I actually like Ja Rule, the fact that he made you guys hate Ja Rule when you loved him the summer before. You loved Ja Rule the summer before. Then Get Rich or Die Trying came out, you was like, F Ja Rule. How did he do that? He made you all hate Jeffrey Atkins. It's crazy. But this one album shifted the whole paradigm of how people beefed how they set up their marketing plans. Like, this album did that. He, as an artist, with this album, did that. And that's why this is in that top 5. Number 4, The College Dropout. Let me tell you something about Kanye West. Kanye West has gone through a metamorphosis, to say the least. But The College Dropout Kanye, to me, was his most lyrical. And notice how I keep saying people are the most lyrical in the first album is because people always say, well, this is the album they took their lifetime to make, or whatever the case. Whatever cliche line that is. But Kanye West did so much on this first album. He poured his heart into it. Because anybody who knows his story is he suffered rejection. He got hosed over by the industry. They overlooked him. He came in at the wrong time. Like, he came in wearing polo and Louis Vuitton with the knapsack, and you know, he started that whole slimmer jean cut with the Gucci kicks. Like, he was doing things in rap that at that time were just taboo. Because at that time, everybody wanted to be hard. Everybody wanted to throw the rock up. And everybody wanted to be with State Property. And everybody wanted to bust their guns with G-Unit. Everybody wanted to growl with DMX. Like, he came in, he was a backpack rapper. He came in with the Common thread. Like, he didn't come in with Common. Common was before him. But bear with me as I break this down. He came in with the thread of Common, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, The Roots. He came in on that ticket. And that just wasn't acceptable in rap at the time. So he was showing a different side. Not only was he showing a different side, but he was showing that we could do it. Us backpackers can do it just as hard. Because the word backpacker was almost a taboo word at the time. Because rap at that time wasn't about the essence of rap. It was about getting money. And the ticket that he came in under and the people that he was closely associated with weren't the flashy, let's talk about cars and jewels rappers. They was just spitting bars that were super cold. And it just wasn't popping at the time. And he made that popping. He took a genre of rap, brought it to the forefront, and then changed it to something else. Very few people have that ability. And say what you will about Kanye West today, he's still continuing to push boundaries, and I wish him nothing but the best, man. Yeah, he's made some errant mistakes with his words and all that, but all of us are fallible, and all of us have that capability to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that's all I'll say about that. Number 3, Illmatic. I'm gonna sit back a little bit. I'm gonna seem like a hypocrite when I say this, but when Illmatic first came out, I had never heard anybody rap like that up until that point. Nobody was doing that. Like, when I first heard It Ain't Hard to Tell, I lost my mind. Because nobody was putting words together like that so succinctly, making them make sense. Because there were a lot of rappers who used to throw a lot of big words together, but it didn't make sense. Like, it was, you know, who comes to mind? Kool Keith and Ultramagnetic MCs. Like, Kool Keith used to say a bunch of words, but I never knew what he was saying. But when Nas came, and I turn on Illmatic, New York State of Mind, first line, rappers, I monkey flip them with the funky rhythm I be kicking. And at that time I used to watch wrestling, so I'm like, he said rappers, he monkey flips rappers. Rappers, I monkey flip them with the funky rhythm I be kicking. And I was like, yo, who is this dude? Because up until that point, it was really like, we're just coming off of Public Enemy, not really lyrical rap. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mike Geronimo had just came out, and that wasn't really that lyrical. We're coming off Special Ed, we're coming off Big Daddy Kane, and then there was a kind of a lull. We had Kool G Rap, who was lyrical, but never really put together a whole body of work. Then we had Rakim, which I never really vibed with. I never really vibed with Rakim like that. But Nas came, and I suppose, because again, I never really listened to Rakim because I was listening to Ice Cube at that time. I suppose Nas was my era's Rakim. If that, because I heard that's what that again, if that's what's said. And I was just in awe of Nasir Jones' skill set. And Illmatic, not one skippable track on there. Because he touched on so many different emotions. Like One Love, I think of that song. I'd never been to jail. I had never had any family that went to jail. But that song, even so from the intro, you hear the jail talk like, yo, bust me down with a CI, I'm next on the phone. And then his man is talking, he's like, yo, I got a letter from my man Nas, da 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 da. And then, what up, kid? I know it was rough doing your bid. When the cops came, you should have slid to my crib. I'm like, yo, that sounded like a letter. Like, he made me believe it. And for that, Illmatic will always be a top 5 album for me. Because it took me to places that I hadn't been as far as rap was concerned. I really love that album. I'm not a huge Nas fan, but I really love that album. Number 2 on the list, The Blueprint. I'm laughing because I kind of alluded to the fact that this would be on here. But The Blueprint, like, okay, let me take it. Let me break this down, right? The towers had just fallen. Rap was in a state of, it was a power struggle. There was a power struggle, you know? There were people trying to come up. You had MCs trying to come up and stake their claim as the HNIC of rap. Hov is just coming off of volume 3. He's just coming off of volume 3, which, you know, a lot of people didn't like. I liked it. So a lot of people off of volume 3 was like, oh, this guy is falling off. Let me make my way, you know, let me try to make my way to the forefront. And Hov was like, no. He's like, no, there's no chance of you guys making your way to the forefront. Take this Blueprint. And the Blueprint had everything on there. Like, I can't skip a track. But the one song that stands out on that album for me is Song Cry. Like, a lot of people would probably say H to the Izzo or Renegade, or the song he made against Mobb Deep and Nas and them. The name escapes me right now. But Blueprint had everything. And Song Cry was the first time I ever heard him have like a remorseful tone over something outside of volume 1 on You Must Love Me. Outside of that, this was because he had spent so long letting you know how much better than you he was, that you almost forgot that he was a person. And then Song Cry came out, and it was like, oh. Because on that same album, Girls, Girls, Girls was on there, so you're like, oh, misogynist. You're like, no, listen to Song Cry. And that album had everything. It took you to different places. Like, that's the other thing that these top 5 albums have. They take you to different places in that person's mind. It's not just one long brag rap, or one long, shoot 'em up bang bang, or one long all I do is get girls album. It takes you to different places. That's what earns a spot for me. It's variation. It's you have to have variety in your music. You can't just give me all of one thing, which is why most classic albums that people say are classics aren't. I don't consider The Chronic a classic album. Say what you want. You skipped mad songs on that. Yeah, it gave us These Nuts. Woohoo. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, it had like 4 songs on there maybe. So, but I didn't mean to get off on a tangent about that. But people talk about The Chronic being a classic album. It really wasn't. So Blueprint. Number 1 on this list. This and this album I'm about to mention is, to me, the most complete album I have ever heard in any genre. I'm talking about, I would put this up against Thriller. I would put this up against Purple Rain. I would put this up against any Rolling Stones album people may hold on a high regard. The Fugees, The Score, was the most complete album I have ever heard. In saying that, and I mean in all of it, like even the skits were funny. The in-between interludes, the guy talking, like, so they had like, I'm not gonna call it spoken word, it was just some sort of like dialogue, monologue that set up the next song. It just had everything. It had rap, it had harmonization, it had musicianship. Like, when I listen to The Score, like you can't, so I don't care who you are, right? The fact that this song isn't even a rap song, okay? When you hear that, strumming my pain with his finger, you're done. If you don't get the chills from the way that song kind of played as like, it played as like an interlude, you know what I mean? Because throughout the whole song, and on top of the fact that they had that socially conscious subject matter without it being overbearing, it gave you so many feelings. And the fact that Fuji Live remix at the end, the Sly and Robbie remix on Fuji Live, when they had John Forte on there, and the whole reggae vibe, like the whole dancehall vibe, like that song was so hard, and it really brought. And then after that, they did this nice little like jazz house version of Fuji Live. Like, it had everything, and that's what a top 5 album should have. It should be like, I don't feel like I wasn't given everything on this album. And a lot of times, we settle for receiving bodies of work from our favorite artists, and we'll say, oh, this is a classic because we love that artist. But if we're truly honest with ourselves, and I'm gonna tell you another name that didn't make this list for a very definite reason. Eminem didn't make this list for me. The Marshall Mathers LP, the Slim Shady LP, Encore, and what was the other one? I can't remember the name of the other album. Those albums had a lot, but they didn't have everything for me. The Slim Shady LP, to me, very skippable, because some of the subject matter didn't apply to me. I didn't do drugs at the time. I didn't have a baby moms, and if I did, I don't think I would have wanted to kill her. I just didn't have that. I didn't have that mindset. I didn't have the Eminem mindset to be able to say, oh, this album had everything. So there might even be a bias there. And I'm not saying that I don't respect Eminem as a top 5 MC, which I do, but if it's just lyrics, then he can make it. But if there's the other criteria, like I did on my last top five list, he can't make it. Tupac, he can't make it. I had a guy text me the other day. He said Capital Punishment was a top 5 hip hop album. It might be for him. For me, Big Pun was very skippable at times. And again, that's why I like these discussions. So please, down low in these comments, give me your opinion. I like to exchange talk about things I'm passionate about. And rap is like, I'm passionate about rap. So when I talk about it, I make sure I'm very exact in my points, that I'm just not, just throwing stuff out there. Like, there are just certain artists that don't do it for me. So these 5 albums, Get Rich or Die Trying, College Dropout, Illmatic, Blueprint, and The Score, are my top 5 hip hop albums of all time, because they gave you everything. It didn't just give you one subject matter. It met all the criteria. If you disagree, let me know down below in the comments. Other than that, this is Wayne Stephen with Next Level Lifestyle. Yes, sir.